Yes. 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 Dune.
Dunny.
Oh yeah, I didn't finish the appendix.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to read the appendix either. But
did you read the appendix?
No.
Okay.
I wanted to.
That's where the integral lore is. Like,
No, it gives you like religions and details on the.
Yo, that's where Fire Pillar of is.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I do like the terminology pages too.
Yeah, I referenced the terminology pages once or twice.
I skimmed through it. I'm like, yeah, this feels like something that I would need. And was like, well, I'm glad this is here. I'm going to keep going though.
The Gom Jabbar.
Yeah, I think if I had not seen the movie first,
the movie helped play so many things for me.
Yeah, I'm like, I know what that is.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, okay, I don't need to like look up.
There are definitely points where I'm like, who are you again?
Yeah.
So Dune is a book that could only be made by someone from Tacoma.
Yeah. Washington.
Frank Herbert's from Tacoma, yeah.
That makes
He went to the University of Washington.
That makes so much sense.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he seemed like a pretty interesting guy. I don't know a whole lot about him, but it seems like he described himself as like a techno peasant.
Yeah.
A techno peasant.
He was very like techie, but he liked playing in the dirt with like funguses and stuff a lot. So
he actually went to Chehalis once, and then he wrote about the Harkonnen Society.
Dude, I mean, yeah, he grew up in Washington, so it's like, yeah, I could see it. I can see it.
That makes a lot of sense. Oh,
I lied, but that
obviously that part.
Yeah, that part.
He did grow up in
What do you mean you're lying?
I always lie.
But yeah.
Welcome to Read Weens, episode 15, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're weens that read.
Indeed.
Sometimes
I learn how to read. We read the sci-fi epic of Dune.
Yeah, the best-selling sci-fi novel of all time.
Best-selling, now major motion picture, Nobel Peace Prize, Purple Heart, Summa Cum Laude,
Coup de grace.
Yeah, all of those things. Yeah, it's that book.
President.
Yeah.
It's the president.
Prime Minister.
They shipped a copy of it to the moon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the moon exploded.
Well, yeah, but now it's just floating around in space.
Now it's just, it's just out there. Well, they're waiting for the worms to come get, or sorry, the makers to come get them.
Yeah, you know how we sent out, like, in the 50s, like, that, like, time capsule into space to basically be like, hey, if you find this is kind of what we're like. You should just send out mascots.
Notice how we're not doing those things anymore? Because I think humanity is just like, we're not going to be around.
Well, no,
they're like,
that's
we're at the point where we're like, we're going to space. We don't need to send out propaganda.
Yeah.
We'll
make our own there.
Yeah. But, yeah.
Once, like, read through, like, an article or watched, like, a video, most likely watched a video going, like, the breakdown of, like, what all is, like, on, like, that, like, gold disc that we send out. I'm like, it's actually, like, a very... It's interesting how much they were able to condense and how they were able to condense, like, all that information on just, like, one thing using mostly pictures. And, like, that's
I just put impressive. Every frame of the Before trilogy by Richard Linklater on there. Yeah. And that's it?
What? I mean, that's all.
I feel like that's a pretty good encapsulation of humanity, if you were going to.
Yeah. I'd say that's a good one. Yeah.
No, I agree. It's like, they need to capture the duality, though, so they should put, like, an MCU movie there for comparison.
Quantumania.
They'll watch and they'll be like, we need to invade them right now.
It's like, who's this big purple guy? Get rid of him.
Get rid of that guy.
Oh my god, he's terrorizing Earth. We need to go save them right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Oh, man. Speaking of terrorizing Earth, Dune.
Yeah. So,
story about a boy who wants to be in the sand.
I mean, yeah.
Oh no! Well,
he doesn't start off wanting to be in the sand, but then he really loves the sand.
He does like it. Now, whether it's the sand or the pain in the sand,
space crack.
Yeah, that's everywhere.
So that fuels everything.
Dune is a very dense story, but to kind of try and condense it down, there's a space empire ruled by a guy named Shaddam IV. and he is going to be played by Christopher Walken. And
Oh, that's who plays him?
that's going to be who's playing him in the,
The
new
Emperor.
movie. Yeah.
That's gonna be good.
So many of the casting choices for that movie are like, I'm like, this is insanity. Austin Butler's playing Fade.
Yeah. Florence Pugh is playing Princess Aurelia.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, I think she's particular.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she's gonna be
No,
good.
like, the only thing is, I guess, like, in the book, she's described as tall. And I'm like, I don't care.
I mean,
Florence Pugh is like 5'2", but I'm like, I
Yeah.
don't care.
they'll just make her look tall. They'll give her CGI knees. But,
Several knees.
I feel like I need that.
yeah, so basically there's this big empire, and to basically simplify it, there is like a spacing guild, which is like basically how people get places. And the Spacing Guild runs on spice, which is only found on the planet Arrakis, which is ruled by a family known as the Harkonnens, who have been involved in this family feud with this
the camera's
more
moved.
Ghost!
with this more noble family called the Atreides for like 10,000 years.
Yeah, big family feud.
Yeah, and basically,
Where's Steve Harvey when you need him?
Well, that's
right.
You know what? As much as I want Christopher Walken to be the Emperor, should have had Steve Harvey.
That would have been an inspired choice, but
Could have been incredibly based.
right. But basically, yeah. So the Atreides family is like super based. Everybody loves them. There's like a big. So basically, there's like a bunch of like Imperium houses, and they all really like him. And the Emperor is jealous and fearful that this guy's gonna come up and like usurp him from his power. So he's just like, I gotta take care of this guy, but I can't just like take care of him. So I gotta covertly like cover it up. So he basically makes it so he's like, all right. So the Atreides family is now going to have the fiefdom to Arrakis, which is the generator of spice, which is like the oil of the universe. It makes all the ships run. It's also an insanely addictive drug that'll kill you from withdrawals if you're addicted to it, or
Lets you see the future.
yeah, once you've had large quantities of it in your system, you need it to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So like basically like everybody in the universe who's anybody is hooked on it. And if they're not hooked on it, they're utilizing it to their advantage. Like everyone's got their hands in the Arrakis pot.
Mm-hmm.
So the Atreides family gets the fiefdom there. So they're going to start mining spice, but basically there's like a plot to where like basically purposefully they're going to set up the Atreides for failure. They're not going to be able to produce the spice, which is going to affect the income for like the Spacing Guild, Chom, all the houses. So they're like, shit. And Chom is basically like this big like corporation that exists.
Conglomerates.
Yeah. And yeah, basically, so the Atreides go there, and yeah, they're basically set up for failure, and this leads to the fucking...
Basically a coup on House Atreides. Like a pre-planned coup.
Mm-hmm. The Harkonnens show up, and they, like, invade them, but they've got a bunch of Sardaukar in disguise, and the Sardaukar are, like, the Emperor's death troopers. Like, they're the...
Genetically engineered death troopers.
They were forged in the fires of Prison Planet.
Yes. Prison Planet. But yeah. I can't remember the name of the prison planet, but it does have one.
Sedukis Seducus.
Yes.
Something like that.
Sedulus Secundus or something like
Something
that?
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so basically, all this shit is fucked for the Atreides. But...
Salusa Secundus.
Salusa Secundus. I remembered Secundus.
Designated Imperial Prison Planet.
Yes. Is that all it says?
No, third planet of Gamma Weiping.
Okay.
Designated Imperial Prison Planet after removal of the royal court to Kaitan. Catan. Salusa Secundus is homeworld of House Corino, and the second stopping point in migrations of the wandering Zenzuni. Fremen traditions say they were slaves on SS for 9 generations.
Interesting. But yeah, basically, so in the Atreides family, they've got their son, who is Paul, and basically he's being groomed to be like
The next
god
emperor.
among men.
Yeah.
Like, so his mom has kind of been trying. Man, there is so
there's a lot. He's like genetic.
He's genetically engineered to be a white savior, pretty much.
Yes.
Like, he is engineered to uplift these people that were specifically put in this place to put him in power, pretty much.
Yeah, it's fucking 5D cross-dimensional.
There's a guild of space witches that are more of like, people know the Bene Gesserit are like, yeah, they're witches, they have powers, but they don't know how deep they run and how they're pretty much like, kind of like an Illuminati-esque group that, marries off to like the most powerful men in the universe and are trying to forge the perfect man who can have their powers, and Paul is one of those people who have their powers.
Basically, like, the thing they're trying to achieve is, so what the Bene Gesserit can do is they can basically look back through their lineage line, through like their DNA, and like see the past through their ancestors' eyes, through like people who they've breeded through this breeding program. But the catch is that women can only access like the women of their past because it's like the double X chromosome. They don't have that Y chromosome. So they're waiting for this prophesized male to come along who's basically going to be able to access like both points of view. And that's what the Kwisatz Haderach is. It's also like, it's like a play on, like, there's a lot of like Christian kind of like, there's a lot of like,
there's a lot of propaganda.
There's a lot of like religious kind of like symmetry between like Dune's world and our world, just in general. But like Kwisatz, there's like a term for Jesus that's like extremely close to Kwisatz Haderach. That means like he who is like in all points of time, like the past, present, and future. So that's like kind of what it's meant to mean. And also like the Bene Gesserit is like based off of the fucking they're like Jesuits or whatever. It's like the Catholic guys. But, yeah. So yeah, basically Jessica is a member of the Bene Gesserit who was like sent off to be married to Duke, and she was Duke Leto, and she was supposed to give him a daughter because that's what the Bene Gesserit wanted, but she was like, I kind of want to give him a son because he wants a son, and who knows, he might be the Kwisatz Haderach.
So. Do they have like control, or is it just like, no, we're just gonna abort?
Yeah, that's one thing I was kind of wondering. They don't.
They spoke with such like control.
I imagine it's probably they abort.
Yeah.
But you never know. They might be able to like manipulate their body to that kind of, because they
shift the womb so that all the men's sperm they're dodging them.
Like they just might be able to suffocate their babies in their wombs or something. Like because I mean, like she can stop her heart.
Yeah, they have pretty strong control of their body, so I wouldn't be surprised if they could just choose.
Yeah.
But
yeah, basically, so Paul is like not supposed to happen, but he totally is. But we'll get into that. But yeah, so he's like basically just being groomed on that front by like Jessica, his mother, and then like basically by his father. He's being like trained into being like a duke and like a mentat as well. And mentats are, oh my god, another thing that.
Mentats are living human computers because computers are outlawed. Any thinking computers are outlawed because there was an AI uprising far, far in the past, and all computers were outlawed by every guild and every human person. So mentats are pretty much people that just calculate things. That's all they do. They just
vast
know.
Amounts of information.
They're just fucking nerds.
Yeah, they're just giant nerds.
Super nerds, yeah.
Yeah, and basically like Castle Caladan is comprised mostly just Jessica, Paul, Duke Leto, and then his like three main guys who are
his trusted associates.
Gertie!
Yeah, Gertie! Oh,
Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah, I forgot about Duncan, Idaho.
How can you forget about Duncan, Idaho?
I mean, he does perish.
He does
like
perish
a
tragically.
third through the book.
That is true.
But alright, spoilers for later Dune books. Apparently, like...
There's a clone army of him.
Yeah, apparently just one of the later fucking things that happens is, like, there's an Atreides who's like, I just need a Duncan, Idaho with me at all times. So they just...
keep making Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah, they just keep breeding Duncan.
That's good.
So it's like...
It's like if the clone army from the Star Wars was Duncan, Idaho.
Yeah. Okay, no, that's a good decision. That's a good decision.
Yeah, the later Dune books sound so weird, and I'm looking forward to them. But, yeah. So, there's Gurney Halleck, who's like a master assassin. He's also great on the
loot, or it's a loot-esque. What is it called?
Baraset or
Vivoset, something like that.
Yeah, something. But
it's a funny instrument.
Yeah, it's like a stringed instrument. It's basically a lute.
Yeah.
But, then,
Space lute.
Yeah, then there's Thufir Hawat, who is
Balaset.
Balaset, yeah. Who is their mentat, who is also like a fucking master of assassins mentat, like that's his specialty.
Mm-hmm.
And then there is Duncan, Idaho, as you mentioned.
I like the family that all the other houses are like, oh, we love them so much. It's just like, yeah, the highest ranking officials are all master assassins.
Right. But they're working for no.
And then there's also Dr. Yue.
There's Dr. Yue!
Yeah, and
piece of shit.
Yeah, one thing that like I wasn't sure I was gonna like in the book that I turned out to really like is like, you know, he's the traitor like the whole time.
Yeah, I think that's like really the way that the book is narrated, like the voice behind it, where you know everything is gonna happen. It feels like I'm Paul Atreides. I know
gonna be Paul.
I think it's just super interesting to get those like little blurbs from like fucking the princess that like say something that's like, oh yeah, like here's what this character is like, and then you like go through the chapter and it's like you can read into it in a completely different way. Like I love that.
Well, it's interesting because Princess Irulan, most of, if not all of the beginning sections of chapters are like a blurb from like a textbook she's writing, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because there's that age-old saying of history's, written by the winners.
Yep.
It's like, yeah, a lot of this is just bullshit.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, so Dr. Yue is like a super interesting character because it's like, he's going to be a traitor, and there's like tons of scenes where it's like he's trying to hide the truth, and you've got Jessica who can like literally tell if a person's lying just by like little fucking physical.
And she's like, well, I've known him for so long, so if he's lying, it's probably just lying about some shitty like little thing, and we're friends, so if he doesn't want to tell me. Yeah,
but his dead wife used to be a Bene Gesserit, so he knows like a lot of their tactics, so he's able to kind of like tap dance and like kick up dust in just the right way.
So he knows how to play around.
Yeah, like, he knows, like, there's one point where he gets super flustered, so he, like, calls her by the wrong name, so she thinks that's why he's
and he's like, okay, now if she thinks that I'm acting weird, it's because, like, oh, I just created this situation where it's like, no need to read further, haha, funny slip of the tongue.
Yeah, and, man, there's so many, like, subtle moments, because there's, like, a point where she realizes, like, there's something a little deeper going on here, but, like, I don't want to be a bad friend. I'm not going to pry. And it's like, oh, if you had pried, you could have fucking saved a lot of heartache. But also, maybe not, because the universe probably might have been a shittier place had she done that.
I mean, that's an argument to be made with, like, the later Dune books, because, like, Paul Atreides is a warlord. Like, he becomes... Yeah. Maybe worse than anyone before. Like, it's just like different brands of fascism.
Yeah, I know that, like, I don't know a whole lot about the Dune books going forward, but I know it's like I know the next book is regarded as like the dark, depressing one, so I'm interested to see how that pans out. But yeah, I haven't gotten to this.
Yeah, and it's like, it's interesting because even reading this in a vacuum, there's a lot of like, it's like, yeah, this is not going to end badly. This is going to end pretty poorly. And he's already treating people as like othered. And it feels like he already thinks of himself as a god by the end of it.
There's like one line towards the end where he's like, it seems like a lot of the things I'm going to be doing are like going to seem cruel to you, but I've like lived 1,000 lives.
Yeah. And that's an interesting like point to be made is like once like, is that a good idea to have a leader that has, like, lived that long? Like, in his mind, he's lived through every scenario. He's seen all the future. I'm like, but then you lose your humanity. Like, the more you do that, the more you lose your humanity, The less he can connect with people. Because I do think Paul is a character. He's a pretty tragic character because he is, like, a legitimately, genuinely good person. I think Leto and, like, Kaladin as a whole, they're still, like, a they're still like a big empire, but out of all the empires, they're the most human, it seems.
Yeah.
And it seems like Paul wants to be a good guy, and then he keeps having to take steps to become less and less of the man he and his father wanted him to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
There's a lot of, like, fealty swearing, like, later on in the book that's just like, damn, really just going for the balls here, aren't you?
Mm-hmm.
Just getting in there like, no. I'm king here.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, oh, little Paul Atreides? Oh.
Right? It's just like, god damn. But, yeah, so basically, yeah, him and his mother, like, have to go out to the desert after their fucking castle on Arrakis is fucking, like, raided by the Sardaukar and the Harkonnens, and it's a big survival thing, and the Bene Gesserit have, like, something that they do is basically, like, in case a Bene Gesserit gets, like, lost or in a survival situation, they'll seed, like, basically, like, prophecies on, like, different locations, and they've been seeding a prophecy
For, like, thousands of years.
Yeah. Because, I mean, like, yeah, Dune, they play the long con. Like,
Just every single long con. Every single one.
so, yeah, basically, like, Jessica and Paul have to, like, utilize these legends on Arrakis and try to, like, step into them while only being, like, vaguely aware of, like, what they might be just based off of, like, certain Bene Gesserit, traditions. Like, there's, like, one where she has to say, like, a specific litany or something that is just, like, what is something that, like, that would come natural to the situation through my training with the Bene Gesserit sisterhood. But, I
couldn't remember what was the name of the like, prophet that was supposed to come up to Arrakis.
the
Lisan al-Gaib.
That's it. Yeah.
That's the one that
I was thinking, like, is it that one, the one that ends in al-Gaib?
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, basically.
Oh, other thing that the Bene Gesserits do is they have this power called the Voice.
Yes.
Yeah, they're like kind of mind control with like a specific tone in the voice and like kind of just space magic.
Yeah, the voice. I didn't read the appendix. Maybe it's explained more in there, but it doesn't seem like they really like thoroughly explain the.
It doesn't feel. It feels just like, oh yeah, they also just kind of like do this, and there's like a period. The beginning or like during the fall of House Atreides when everything's going down, Paul and his mom were like captured by a bunch of Sardaukar. Like Paul is like aware of it and has had some training, but not like a lot of experience.
Yeah,
they kind of like talk about it. Like I think that's at most the furthest they go, because then the voice isn't really relevant for a while.
I think what's also interesting about that is it feels like the reader of this book is like all knowing, like it's constantly telling you everything you need to know, except for the Bene Gesserit. And it's like, this is a society that's been shrouded in mystery for so long that even the writer doesn't really know. Which I think is a good. I think that's cool.
Yeah, no, I think it's really cool.
Yeah.
It keeps the mystery going. Like there's so much context to everything that happens. Like you get lore on so much, except for specifically the Bene Gesserit. Like you know, any place on Arrakis we know about anything to do with the House Harkonnen, the Sardaukar. Like we know a lot about them. So the Bene Gesserit.
Yeah, and I think that works to the story's advantage because as you go along, you while you don't learn like flat out everything, you do like learn more. Like you get to see like what the whole process for becoming like a Reverend Mother is through Jessica, because she becomes like a fucking oh god, I am blanking.
I think it's just Reverend Mother, right?
Yeah, she just becomes like Reverend Mother for the
Fremen.
For the Fremen, yeah.
Oh yeah, the Fremen. We haven't said the word Fremen at all. They're the indigenous people of Arrakis.
Yeah. But also maybe they come from
elsewhere,
the prison planet.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe all these people came from Earth at one point. Yeah. Who knows? Who cares? It's not relevant at this point.
Yeah, Earth is Dune's supposed to take place in like 22,000 or something.
Yeah, it takes place like compared to like the rest of like future sci-fi. It like
No, it's like
It's
way future.
leagues further, and
Yeah.
that's not even counting where the fucking sequels go. Because like I think God Emperor takes place like 23,000 years after like Children or something like that.
Jesus.
And it's like, oh my god. But yeah,
But that's gonna be wild.
yeah, that's the one with the big worm god. So,
Worm God, Worm God, Worm God.
oh, dude, I'm so excited.
Yeah, I really want to read more Dune. Like, I picked what I wanted to read for the next Read Weens a while ago, but after reading this, I'm like, do I want to pick the next Dune?
Oh, I know. It was like, oh, I think I'm gonna read them regardless. At least the next one because it's short.
Yeah.
But yeah, fucking. Yeah, oh my god, there's so much to dive into. It's like, do we talk about the Fremen, his weird little sister?
Yeah.
I want to talk about his weird little sister real quick. We're not going to talk about everything in Dune, but one thing, I think the book's really, really good. Like, one of the best things I've maybe ever read. But man, thinking so many of the things, I was telling Thomas, so many of the things that's going to be in Dune Part 2, I'm like, how the fuck are they adapting this? Like his weird little sister who's 2 years old, but has... So there's a thing called the Water of Life,
Oh god.
which the Bene Gesserit drink.
It's like the process that makes like Reverend Mothers.
Yeah, it connects them with everyone in their past, pretty much.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But
It's the key
she is pregnant when she drinks that, so
Doesn't
her
tell anyone.
unborn baby also connects with everyone. So by the time she's 2, she just walks around regularly and goes, "Hello, everyone. How are you?"
No, like she was in the belly, like fully conscious, and she came out like a full talking adult. Like her first words were to her caretaker, and she's like, "I love you." Your name? I can't remember the character's name.
Or was it?
It was the one that it was Jameis's. Wife.
Yeah. What's her name?
Oh yeah.
Hara?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, Hari?
Hara, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's Hara. It's Hara.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was like, "I love you, Hara," and then everyone's.
Yeah,
Everyone, all the Fremen don't understand it, so they're like,
They
"What
shoot
is
it.
that weird demon child?" Like,
Well, even the Bene Gesserit are like, "What the fuck?" Like the actual Reverend Mother sees her and is like, "What the fuck
No,
did you do?"
she doesn't see. She, like the Reverend Mother, the first time she sees her, the little girl just starts talking in her head. She's like, "What is happening?"
And then she kills Baron Harkonnen.
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck is going? You're gonna have a baby kill Stellan Skarsgård?
She not only kills Baron Harkonnen, but then she goes out and like just stabs, like make sure that every one of them is dead. She's like, "I'm gonna go like secure and like stab dead bodies."
I'm gonna go double tap
Yeah.
every Sardaukar
So,
right now.
yeah.
And it's like, is she like?
They have because they it's not something that they can just like drop. It
Yeah,
has to be.
it's pretty significant.
It's very necessary.
I know, like a big part of her arc. Do you guys care if I spoil, like just saying like what it is? I don't know how it wraps up or anything. But,
Sure.
I know in Children of Dune she becomes possessed by like Vladimir Harkonnen's like ghost.
Vladimir Putin.
That's his first name, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So like Vladimir Harkonnen's ghost just like possesses her.
See, the thing is, you say things in Dune, and they sound like the stupidest things you've ever heard of,
In
yet
context,
somehow
it's
they
pretty
all
cool.
work.
It works
Yeah.
in context,
Like,
surprisingly.
when I, like, talking, I'm like, do you remember the weird baby from Dune? But it's, like, really riveting to read. I'm like, oh, it's so,
Yeah.
wow.
And later in the book, she implants a message in future Paul's memory.
Yeah.
And because he's the Kwisatz Haderach, he's able
like,
to
what
like
the
access that. And she's
Yeah.
like, yeah, by the way, I just killed like this is like a spoiler. So if you haven't seen, I mean, we've already got
We're talking about Dune.
But
You're
this
watching.
is a pretty big spoiler. So if you haven't watched, or if you, part 2's not out yet, so no one's watched part 2.
Next year for part 2?
This year.
This year?
End of this
November?
year. Yep.
December?
I think it's November. Unless it gets pushed back. But
Hopefully not.
they wrapped shooting in December, so I think there's a pretty good chance it'll come out at a good time.
Oh, are they gonna do the baby?
I wonder
I mean,
if
David Lynch did the baby, and I think
I don't remember the David Lynch one at all, though.
I mean, they got like maybe like a 4-year-old or something.
I mean,
which is probably
CG's
like
good enough. It's probably
should
just gonna
have
be
a-
like a CG monster or something.
I think that it probably like a blend.
They should have like an actual baby, but just have like strings on it, and have it like walk around in a business. They should have Alec. Oh wait, he's going to prison. I was gonna say they should have Boss Baby.
Oh yeah, they can have him just record the voice lines from his cell.
Well, he's gonna be out by then.
Yeah.
He'll have served his time.
Yeah, that's true.
Like 30 days or whatever.
He'll be serving.
15 on good time, you know?
Yeah, I'm sure he'll probably not do a whole lot of.
No. Dude's gonna do... I'll be surprised if he does more than a month.
Maybe. You never know, but
True. I'm just so cynical when it comes to that shit.
no, I feel it, but yeah, it's I don't know because some celebrities find themselves planted in there, but yeah, let's see.
I'm mainly excited for part 2. I just want to see more of the Fremen, like, cities and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
The Fremen are so... I really like a lot of just what they do.
Yeah,
I like the idea... Because this world is so fleshed out and developed, I'm really curious to see how, like, all of that visual storytelling translates to the movie.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I'm so excited for the worm riding.
Oh, the worm riding is going to be good.
Because they're like teasing it in the first movie too.
Yeah.
It shows
There's like a very
Kynes
end
about
shot.
to like do it and then die.
Isn't there like one of the final shots?
One of the final
You
shots
see
is
one in
someone-
the back.
Yeah, you see someone riding the worm in the back.
Yeah.
One scene that I actually really hope, because I think for the most part, I know a lot of people that had a lot of issues with Villeneuve's one, and then I'm like, oh, I was really afraid reading this, and I'd be like, oh yeah, but I'm like, I think he gets the tone of it really well.
No, the
I
tone of
think,
it's very good.
obviously, I think they changed the like kind of narrative voice of it because it's more of like a mystery. They don't give away UA's involvement right at the beginning. So it's a different like feeling of it, like in the pit of your stomach, but like there's more hope at the beginning of the movie. While this one is like, we are doomed and we know that.
Yeah, I think given the fact that it's like a movie and it's like, I mean, obviously the second half's not out, but for covering the first half of Dune, I think it does like a pretty good job.
It does a surprisingly good job, yeah.
I mean, obviously there are tons of things that if I wanted to, I could complain about. Like,
I feel like at that point it's just nitpicking.
yeah, like I wish that they would maybe give a little more Harkonnen shine. Like
There's a lot of screen time in the book dedicated to the Harkonnens, which I really like.
Yeah, and I
Interested
think
to see how much they give to Fade Ralpha or whatever.
I think a really good debut for him in the second movie would be his birthday, where he fights the gladiator.
Yeah.
I think that'd be a really good introduction scene. And
Elvis!
Yeah, and I really hope they bring my boy Count Fenring into this movie adaptation, because he wasn't in David Lynch's, and he's in the miniseries. But I haven't watched the
feels so scary, like reading about him. Like,
yeah, it's like, oh wow. But yeah, I really liked that. Like at the end, where I was like, oh, that's actually kind of beautiful. I like that, because he's like, okay, Count Fenring's an interesting character. He was basically a candidate for the Kwisatz Haderach by the Bene Gesserit, but he was born sterile, so like they were like, maybe not, but we'll still kind of keep him on the side just in case.
We'll keep you in check.
And yeah, eventually I think they ended up trying it, and it kind of worked, but not really. Instead of like projecting himself out into time like Paul did, instead it did the opposite. So he projects inward, so he's unable to be seen in any sort of like psychic visions by anyone. So like,
he's just a ghost.
Yeah, he's literally just like a shadow man who can just creep around and do stuff. He's like the
so
right.
when Paul sees him, he's like, "Is that why I can't see him? Because he'll be the death of me."
Yeah, and but basically like, this guy has never really been able to connect with anyone. The closest is like the Emperor. So he's like, I can't kill this guy. Like, I can't do that. So he's just like, tells the Emperor, he's like, I'm not gonna kill Paul. So like the Emperor has no choice but to kind of just give up.
Yeah.
And he ends up going to the prison planet with the Emperor.
They get to live on Prison Planet.
Prison Planet.
But yeah, a reformed prison. They apparently touch it up and make it nice before he goes, which is like, I feel like that. I guess maybe that's supposed to be like emblematic to like the type of leader that Paul wants to be. Because, I mean, he did kind of...
wants to be.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Well, obviously. Because, I mean, the whole time he's like, there is going to be a fucking, like, holy war in my name, and I want to stop it.
Paul wants to crusade. Let the boy
No,
crusade.
Paul does not want a crusade, but he's like, but I gotta.
He's like, I might have to crusade, because and that's like one of the things that makes his final fight with Fade kind of interesting, is because he's basically like, well, I'm not gonna fucking give in to...
I'm not gonna use my magic powers.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna leave this up to honest chance. And, oh god, I love the way that fight wraps up, because it's such like an anime thing. Reminds me of like something you'd see in My Hero, because like, basically, when going into that fight, Jessica tells him, he's like, so the Bene Gesserit like basically like kind of implanted like a sleeper term in his mind. So if you say this like word, like Worcestershire or whatever the fuck, he'll just basically be paralyzed for a second and stunned, and you can kill him. And he's like, I'm not gonna fucking lean on the Bene Gesserit to do this. I hate those fucking space witches. Fuck them. So he's like, I'm gonna do this myself. And there's a point where he's fighting, and he's like, basically like at a very fucked point where it's like, oh fuck, he's gonna die. And like every fiber of his being and all the consciousnesses within him are like, say the fucking word!
Just do it!
And he just shouts out loud, he's like, I'm not gonna say it! And Fade's like, wait, what? And then just gets stabbed in the brain. And it's like, I don't know, I love that. I think it's just a great...
He said the word by not saying the word. It's just enough to throw him. You see, he stunned him, but he just fucked with him.
What if the Bene Gesserit, what if that was the word, though? And he just planned, like, just a bunch of fucking...
I mean, with how big brain everyone is in Dune, I wouldn't put it past them.
I don't think they would have solely done that, but I could see them planting something like that as, like, a contingency plan. Just like, we'll give them, like, 6 or 7 phrases that'll fucking knock them out. But honestly, they probably wanted him to win in that fight, because he would have been a good puppet leader for the Bene Gesserit, because then Fade would have married Princess Aurelia, and then he would have been a good little shut the fuck up and we're gonna influence you without you even fucking realizing it. But Paul's not that stupid, so they can't do that to him. But yeah, Dune, I really like Dune. There's a lot of... I'm not done talking about it. I just need to reiterate that I like Dune.
There's a lot of Dune.
There is one scene that I really hope, if they were to adapt it, it would be like at the very beginning of part 2. But it's, I think, my favorite part of the book. I think it was like really profound and like emotionally charged, but it was the funeral for Jamis.
Oh god, that
really
scene was
that.
so good.
And I actually think that if I think they could have ended the first part on that, actually.
They could have, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really curious to see how they're going to open the second movie, but continue.
But yeah, there's like, they're all standing around this like cave talking about Jamis after they had taken him for his water. Because the Fremen, use all of the body for their water because they're, they need water. And they're all saying, like, Jamis was my friend, and then giving, like, a short little, like, 1 or 2 sentence speech about why they were friends. And they're all, like, Paul in his head's, like, thinking, like, do they want me to do this?
Yeah,
and
like,
they keep, like, after
after
everyone talks, right before the next person talks, they're, like, kind of glancing at him. He's like, oh, God, they do. And he does. And he walks up there and he says, Jamis, like, helped me to, remember, like, why I'm here or how to fight or the cost of a life, I think, is something like that.
I think it was...
But unintentionally, he's, like, crying because this is the first person that he's, like, killed with his bare hands.
And everyone just is like...
They're, like, shocked because Fremen in their society, they just, like, don't cry because that's, like, you're wasting water. Yeah. And they're, like, oh my god, he's giving, like, this water to this like, soul.
Yeah, they call it giving water to the dead.
Yeah.
They reference it, like, several times throughout the rest of the book, but it's like...
And just, like, I'm just like, what a profound thing to say. And that was, like, really... I think that was my favorite part of the book. I loved the book, but I'm like, that was my favorite thing to read.
Yeah, that scene kind of put into perspective something that I think the movie, like, just didn't, like, play up enough, and that was, like, the absolute importance of water. Like, in the movie, they're like, oh yeah, they need water. It's kind of like whatever, but Jessica specifically is like, there's a scene, like, right afterwards where she goes, no, wait, I get it now.
Yeah.
Like, I understand it
Well,
now.
and I think that's more of a thing for part 2 because it shows, like, the just complete difference in quality for, like, the rich and the poor. Like, Kaladin, even when they moved to Arrakis, they had fuck tons of water. They were fine.
Yeah, they didn't care.
Yeah, I know it would have been hard to cram in there, but I almost wish they would have gone through, like, the Jamis and even, like, to, like, Jessica drinking, like, the water stuff in this one, because I think it would have been, like, a good, like, sequel starting point to start with the time skip. And I still feel that way, but it's like, I don't want them to skip, like, all this good stuff that happens before, especially since it's, like, key to establishing their relationship with the Fremen.
It's so huge, yeah. Because, I mean, Jamis, in, like, their whole fight and, like, the death and the funeral is Paul's in to the Fremen. Mm-hmm. Like, that was his main in.
Yeah, I actually don't... I think a pretty good start to the movie, if they're doing part 2, is to start after the time skip and just simply have, like, a flashback or two. Yeah. I think you could probably fit that, and I think it could weave the story in interesting ways. I think flashbacks can be pretty good.
Yeah, I think Dune's also...
And especially with this, like, now time... You know, if they really wanted to, they would make it completely non-linear. Like, sorry, I took the spice, I'm going insane, you're going insane with me.
I feel like Dune's a story just because, like, the way Paul is set up in his power set, like, time is very non-linear to him. You can absolutely play with it. I think it's something that, like, thematically makes sense. You just have to, mechanically make it.
Yeah, it wouldn't work in a movie. I mean, it could.
I think they could pull it off.
I think there's
actually, and if there was a modern blockbuster filmmaker that was gonna do it, it would be Villeneuve.
Because, I mean, they do stuff like that in the first one. Like, there's a scene where, like, you see
they're constantly... He's constantly jumping around.
Yeah, because Paul has, like, a vision. Like, you see that he's having a vision, but you don't see what it is when he's, like, first down, like, trying to get the fucking people mining the spice onto, like, the ships and stuff. Mm-hmm. And then later, Jessica's like, what did you see? And then you, like, kind of go back to that point. So I could see them doing kind of, like, ethereal editing stuff like that to kind of segue. As long as it's not, like, throughout the whole fucking movie. If it's used for, like, one or two details, I could see that working.
It just can't be heavy-handed.
Yeah, I think that they could probably get away with not, like, showing Jessica becoming, like, the Reverend Mother and stuff, and they can explain that stuff. Because, I mean, basically there's a scene where his sister does explain it to Hera. She's like, yeah, like, I know, like, I was born like this, and I went through this experience. Like, they were in the room, and I saw it. Because, like, also, it's like, how are they gonna fucking put that kind of shit on screen where, like, you experience shit like that? I don't fucking know. But, I don't know. I'm looking forward to seeing how they cover it. But
just adapt it all. Just give us all of that.
But another one of my favorite scenes, because I love my boy Gurney. Anything with Gurney is good.
Gurney's great.
There are so many of the characters in this are so compelling for different reasons.
They really are. But I love the scene where Gurney, like, tries to assassinate Jessica.
Oh god, that scene is so good.
Yeah, the way that all unfolds is, like, super fucking just great. Because, basically...
He's convinced that she's the...
Yeah.
The reason House Atreides fell.
The first half, Harkonnen's, like, planted, like, a fake note to basically, like, try and get Jessica at opposite ends of, like, Hawat, who is, like, basically, like, they're the two big voices that talk the angel and the devil on fucking Leto Atreides' shoulders. Mm-hmm. So the Harkonnen wanted to, like, stir, like, a fuss between the two of them so that they would just get lost in a squabble and trying to figure out who's the traitor when it's really Yue, who no one suspects because he's, like...
Because he was supposed to go through, like, this imperial training that's unbreakable.
Which he did, but the way that they kind of, like, go about explaining why he, like, how Harkonnen broke that was kind of interesting, because it's like, he didn't technically kill anyone, which is, like, the thing is, like, they're not able to kill people, but, like, so, like, they kind of, like, sidestep it like that, which is super kind of interesting. But yeah, freaking what's it called? So and basically, like, all of the men on, like, Duke Leto's side, aside from, like, the Duke himself, thinks that, like, she's a traitor. Like, Duncan Idaho thinks she's a traitor. Hawat thinks she's a traitor. Even Gurney kind of falls for it, even though he kind of knows in his heart, like, maybe it's not true. But So he meets back up with Paul after all these years, and he's like, Paul, and they like fucking reunite, and he's like, are you gonna fucking like fight, like come help
You're
me?
gonna fight with me, right? And he's like, you're the Duke, I have to serve you.
Yeah, if I had known you were alive this whole time, I would have been by your side.
Yeah.
Like, it's like not even a question.
Mm-hmm.
And God, I love like the seeds of hope being planted through that second half, where it seems like the good side of the Atreides is like, kind of coming back. At least they think so. Obviously, like
they build up that scene a little bit, but man, it goes fast. Like it just goes. That whole scene is 0 to 100.
Yeah. But yeah, basically like yeah. So Gurney he's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna take you back, meet my mom, and see her again, and it'll be good. And like the second Gurney walks through the door, he just like picks her up and puts a knife to her back, and it's like this huge confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
And oh man, then afterwards, when he realizes what he's done, he's like just so apologetic. He's like,
kill me!
Kill me! And Paul's like,
and both
why do all
stop being stupid?
He's like, why does every one of my friends ask me to kill them? I'm not doing this because there's Stilgar, who is like the leader of the Fremen, and he also like it's Fremen tradition that like
once
the leaders
you surpass the leader's ability, you'd like challenge him to a fight to the death, and then become the leader. Pretty much.
And Paul's like, that's stupid. I'm not doing that.
Yeah,
I need you.
Paul's just like, no, you're really good. Everyone trusts you. I trust you. Like, I need you.
Yeah, he's like, I'm not. This is not happening. Like, stop. So yeah,
I think the line is like, why does everyone who I love want me to kill them? Or like, something like that.
Mm-hmm. And it's just everyone wants Paul to kill them, and it's like,
and the way Paul talks him down, he like Gurney is just like mad, he's angry, he's ready for it, he's just looking for any reason. Paul just like very calmly goes, you haven't heard my mom cry herself to sleep every night.
Yes.
And like from that he just goes, oh shit, I was wrong, wasn't I?
Yeah, and he's like, you were there, you saw that they fucking loved each other, you know. And
he's like, tell me which part of that was fake.
Yeah, he's like, alright, yeah, I'm sorry. That's just like, yeah, I love that.
No, it was such a good scene. Such a good scene.
Yeah, fucking. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to get into any critiques or if you have any. I've got a couple minor critiques.
Not enough sex. No. What are your other children? So never mind.
Yeah. So I think that the pacing in the second half, I think it might grow on me with future reads, but it definitely feels like it hits the gas as it gets towards the end, and I think that was intentional. But I'm not quite sure how I feel about that, particularly because it's like, I feel like there are so many key aspects that are meant to be like super impactful to the characters that we don't really get into, like Paul's son, Leto Atreides 2.
Yeah.
The second, yeah.
I think I'm going to disagree with you on this point, though, because I feel like we, as an audience at this point, are kind of viewing it with Paul. And at this point, he's, a future seer. He can see everything. Mm-hmm. And he's seeing these big events that he thinks are important. And even in these events, his son is on the back burner. Like, he barely sees him. Mm-hmm. He talks about his sister more. And even when his son dies, he doesn't, like, shed a tear at all.
Yeah.
He feels only when he sees his Chani.
Yeah.
Does he like even feel a twinge of like pain? And I feel like this breakneck speed and like these jumps to different scenes and these big like skips to events and we don't see anything anymore is like a good reflection of him losing that humanity. We're most human in between those moments. How we sit waiting for things to happen. How we go to things, and he's not getting that anymore. So I really like it. I get it. It is a weird thing to read, especially after that, but I think thematically it works really well. For me.
Yeah, and like I was saying, like I'm not like I might like it on a future reread, like, and I think it was purposeful, but it's just like reading it, I was like, oh shit, this is wrapping up quick. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah. I was like, I have like 40 pages left.
The pacing felt weird. It definitely got faster towards the end, but also I didn't mind it just because it meant like, oh, just more shit's happening.
Mm-hmm.
Passage of time was a weird thing for me, just 'cause I'm like, I don't know, felt like I'm just like, oh, yep, time moved forward a lot now.
Yeah, especially because it happened in the middle of like a lucid, like Paul's like, where am I in time? And then, oh, we're in the future now.
We're just here now. Yeah,
Which I get, like, reading is like strange,
Yeah.
but I think looking at it, I'm like, that's so sick.
Mm.
I don't really have a lot of like hard criticisms of the book.
I mean, I think like those are literally my only.
And
not enough worm.
And like I said, I think it's like, I thought it was a pretty light read, like it was a pretty fun read, easy to get through, but I do think the way it's structured,
Super nuts.
like, helps to have a reread. Like, it would be an interesting thing to reread.
No, yeah.
Especially because, like...
Sure, like...
I think that the first half was a little harder for me to get through just in general, just because I knew what was going to happen because I'd seen the movie, and I didn't remember the David Lynch movie, so I didn't remember anything that happens in the second half.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think any of it was hard for me to get through at all, though. I was having a blast every time I was reading. I was going, la la la, I was twirling my feet, and I was like, dee 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 dee, oh, I'm reading Dune, oh, there's a worm, oh, they're smoking crack, and oh, they're having psychic visions. Space Witch.
Ooh. But yeah, fucking... Yeah, I love this book. Like, this might be my island book. Like, if it's like, oh, you're stuck on a deserted island, what's your one book? I might take Dune. Like, if I can't take the entirety of One Piece, yeah.
Well, you can take the first 100 volumes in the one set, right? Did you see that?
No, I didn't.
Oh, they did a one book.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it cost like $10,000. It was like a novelty item.
Well, I'll steal that and I'll go to the desert.
You would have to get like a ladder and climb up and go, 1, 2.
It would like rain once and ruin half of the story, and I'd be like, no!
Well, think about it. It could also be your house.
It could also be your house.
Yeah, I thought, what else did we read on this? I mean, I'd already read Wolf and White Van. I think that's still like maybe my favorite book, but first reads, I think this might be my favorite thing we've read on there. Let me double check what else we've read on Read Weens, though, because I always forget.
Yeah, aside from maybe One Piece, which I won't count because it's a manga, so I'm just gonna, for sake of argument, separate them, even though I don't in reality. But
I do love One Piece, actually.
One Piece is fucking really good, but
Dune
is fucking awesome. Really good,
I have been enjoying Worm a lot, but even after all of it, if we read it all, I don't think it'll be there.
Yeah.
I do really like that first Thrawn book.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked Dracula.
Dracula was really good. I like Dracula.
Second Witcher book I really enjoyed. But yeah, I think...
What's that one with the cat down there?
That's Hunter x Hunter.
Oh,
That's that big guy.
No, I remember.
The best character in Hunter x Hunter.
Yeah, it's the weird little rabbit bear thing that he raises. It's the thing that Kite saves him from, and then...
That's what I put the thumbnail on.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, what? I'm missing something.
It's the best Hunter x Hunter character.
Chimera Antark? What? But,
yeah, I think in terms of like actual like book, this is probably my favorite thing we've read so far in terms of book. I think my favorite thing that's been introduced to me has definitely been One Piece, though.
One Piece! One Piece! Joe's caught up.
I'm not
Joe's
caught up.
not caught up.
He's not quite.
No, I'm still working on it.
Mm-hmm. Making my way downtown.
I'm making my way downtown to the One Piece. I'm going to go to the One Piece store and get my One Piece.
Yeah. But
well, another successful. Will we all recommend this then?
Yes.
I think everybody should legally be required to read this book at least.
At gunpoint.
This is government mandated reading.
It should be. The government would never fuck.
I do think this should be taught in schools.
It should be. It's good.
No, very good.
Wisdom.
A lot of really profound things are said in there.
Mm-hmm. Like also, the Litany of Fear is like a really iconic one. That's like so good.
For me, like a giant like sci-fi space like setting, It feels very, very fresh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It feels completely different than a lot of
Very,
other
very
sci-fi
different.
stories.
That was the one thing going through this that I like remembered from watching the Dune movie. I'm like, this is very like Uncharted. And that's a very nice thing to have.
Yeah, no, it did, like, because it does kind of the opposite of what, like, a lot of sci-fi books did back then, and still to this day, like, I mean, not a whole lot of them do it, and if they do, it's like, well, clearly they're taken from Dune.
Yeah.
Because it's, like, completely opposite, like, no computers, it's, like, all about just, like, humanity's potential, but also their shortcomings.
Just people and drugs.
Yeah, a lot of drugs.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Dune is fucking great. And I can't believe we've gone this entire fucking review without even at least mentioning the Gom Jabbar once.
The Gom Jabbar! No, I said the name. I said Gom
mention it.
Jabbar!
Yeah. You did? Okay.
Yeah, London name dropped her right at the beginning.
Yeah.
That's how Harkonnen dies. He gets hit with the Gom Jabbar.
Yeah.
She backs up into him and just...
And he got hit with the Gom Jabbar!
Yeah, it's so good. I love it. But yeah, okay.
Alright. Closing thoughts, anyone? I got none.
It's sick as fuck.
It's one of the greatest books ever written, if not the greatest book ever written. Move aside Bible. You got the...
They referenced the Bible.
Yeah, the Orange Catholic Bible, or
Yeah.
whatever they call it. Which is apparently like a big reference to like something that like happened between like two divisions of like Catholics that existed within Ireland at the time like Dune was being written, but I don't freaking know. I didn't read super deep into it. But yes.
Alright, London. I believe you are next up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
We're reading Sleepwalker, baby!
In Sleepwalker. Okay.
We're reading Marvel's Sleepwalker. We're reading the entire original run, which was, I think, 33 issues. And then we're also going to read, he had a small 4-shot in, I think, like 2015. I think it was for Infinity Warps. And he had a 4-issue run of that. So we're going to read those 2 runs.
Excellent.
Cool.
Because next month, Hellcat has a new 5-issue and Sleepwalker's in it!
Wow.
I love Sleepwalker! Let's fucking go!
Alright. No, I'm excited.
How long do you think before fucking MCU does a Sleepwalker project?
I don't know. I really thought they were gonna he was gonna show up in Doctor Strange too.
Yeah.
They do a lot of dream stuff, and I'm like, Sleepwalker. And they literally, it's time. We have to dream walk. I'm like, oh, I was like this. It was like hyperventilating when it didn't show up.
Oh. Maybe he was on a cutting room floor or something. But yeah. So that was episode 12. 17 of Read
15.
Weens.
15. Alright.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thanks
Sleepwalker.
for Sleepwalker.
Sleepwalker.
Let's go!
Wow!
Woo! Goodbye. Oh God! Goodbye, everyone.
Goodbye.